Hello, hello, good morning. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Saturday 10 a.m. technique at the Summer Vacation Road Trip online crop. And we are having a lovely time today. We are adventuring through some landmarks on our road trip. And so you'll be seeing those popping up throughout the day. Ooh, I got my sound going beside me, even if I don't want it to. So if you're popping on to watch, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And we are going to be creating a fun fold mini album / card. So it's something that can be used as either a mini album or you could make it as a card. It's an interesting size, and it's made out of one piece of cardstock, which is awesome because, you know, save some paper, right? One piece of cardstock. There's a little bit of a folding technique to it, hence the name Fun Fold. So we're going to be creating that today, and I'm going to be using a couple pieces of mix-in paper from our mix-in paper packs, and these are interesting paper packs. Every catalog we have a mix-in paper pack, and the idea is that these are extra papers that coordinate with the collections in the catalog. So this new catalog has actually got 3 months, July, August, and September. So there are 3 collections in there, and so these papers coordinate with those 3 collections. And I like the way that we've been having these lately in that they are color coordinated. So each page is sort of a different color. And so even if you're not using it with the collections in this catalog, say you're using a collection that includes sapphire, well, you could pull on these 2 patterns here as a different kind of pattern paper from what's in your regular collection to coordinate and be a sapphire pattern. Same with this one. It's a toffee pattern. So it can coordinate with any collection that coordinates with toffee. And of course, there's a lovely wood grain in here, which is just gorgeous. And it goes really well with the beachy feel and even the Backyard Bliss collection, as well as the Crisp Air. This wood one just looks lovely with all of them. And then there's some plaid, and there is one that has a flower on it as well, and that's in Candy Apple Red. And so that's, again, one of those colors that's going to coordinate with anything that you want a pattern for that is the Candy Apple color. So let me I'm going to restart my video on the side because I'm not 100% sure it's doing its thing. There we go. And we are going to get started. So if you're watching, say hello or howdy. And if you're watching later on replay, just let me know on replay. Good morning, Heather. Nice to see you're watching. So we're going to begin this fun fold mini album card. So it can be used as a mini album or a card, or it can be added into another album as a fun interactive element. We're going to begin with a piece of 12-inch by 9-inch cardstock. So we've got 12-inch by 9-inch. And I've chosen to use sapphire for this. I'm going to be using some of the mix-ins as well as some of the beach party paper and some of the beach party Picture My Life cards to create my look today. But the fun fold itself can be used for anything, right? Once you learn a fun fold, you can use it on so many things. So I've got my 12 by 9 cardstock, and I'm going to turn it so it's in the 9 by 12 orientation. So going vertically on my Versamat, and I'm going to line it up with my Versamat because I need to do some scoring. Now, if you have a scoreboard, you can go ahead and use that, or if your trimmer does scoring, you can do that. I just use my ruler and my bone folder and do my scoring that way. So we've got our 9 inches across the top here, and we want to score it at 3 inches. So just line your ruler up and score it at 3 inches, just like that. And then we're also going to score it at 6 inches. like so. So 3 inches and 6 inches. And this is, I know scoring and folding and stuff can sometimes be a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, this is very simple measurements that we're doing, okay? Just have to follow along. So we've scored it at 3 inches and 6 inches along that 9-inch side. Then we're going to turn it 90 degrees. So now we've got it lined up with our 12-inch measurement going all the way across our mat. And I'm just going to make sure I've got it lined up well here on my Versamat. There we go. And we are going to score it right in the middle at the 6-inch mark. That's our first step, scoring it at 6 inches. Okay. And then we're going to score it at 3 and 9 inches, but there's a catch. So don't just score right quick. You got to pay attention. So we're going to go over to the 3-inch mark and line our ruler up or whatever. And then we're going to score from the top to that first horizontal score line. So we're only scoring in this little section. Then we're going to jump over this middle section. We're not scoring here. Sorry, I got that wrong. We are scoring there. You know, it's great when the person giving you the instructions is telling you the wrong thing. Pardon me. We are going to score all the way down at the 3-inch mark. Sorry, I got myself confused. We're scoring all the way down at the 3-inch mark. So we've scored at 3 inches and 6 inches, and now we're going to score at 9 inches. I knew I would mess up at some point, but that's okay. At least I didn't tell you to score somewhere where you shouldn't. There we go. So we've scored at 3, 6, and 9. And now if you look at your page, let me just lift it up, you should be able to see that we've created a grid of 3 by 3 squares. Do you see that? We've got 4 squares, 4 squares, 4 squares, and they're all 3 by 3 inches, okay? So now we need to do 2 extra little score lines. And this is where we need to pay attention. We're going to come over here to 1.5. So line yourself up at 1.5. But this is the time when you're only scoring in one particular spot. So we're not starting at the top. We're only going to score in this center 3-inch block from in between these top and bottom score lines. We're going to score it at 1.5 inches. There we go. Okay, so we've left the top 3-inch square and the bottom 3-inch square, and we've just scored this 3-inch square right in half at 1.5. So nice vertical score line. Then we're going to come over to this last square in the center. We're going to line our ruler up, or whatever we're doing, at 1.5 inches. And again, we're going to score just between the 2 score lines, right here on this center 3-inch square. Just like that. Okay, and that is all of our scoring done. However, we need to do a little bit of fussy trimming here. So I'm using my X-Acto blade, or whatever you want to call it, my knife, my craft knife, and I'm going to turn 90 degrees back to having this with the 9-inch portion going across the top, the 12-inch portion coming down the side. And this time I want to use my cutting tool instead of my scoring tool. And I'm going to cut along the 6-inch line and the 3-inch line, but only starting at these 1.5-inch score lines. So we're going to start on the 3-inch line. Let me line it up here. And we're going to be cutting right along where we scored, but we're not going all the way. Okay, so we're going to be starting here on the 3-inch score line at this horizontal 1.5-inch score line, and we're going to trim all the way down to this last 1.5-inch score line at the bottom. So we're not going all the way to the ends. So if you have a paper trimmer where you can cut inside lines, you can go ahead and do that. And if you don't, and you're like me, you get out your ruler and your craft blade and you trim it. So let me lift that up so you can see that we did not cut at the top and the bottom. We only cut from between that 1.5 inch score line down to this 1.5 inch score line. And we made ourselves a little slot. Okay, so let's line it back up. And we're going to come over to our 6 inch score line. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start at the 1.5 inch score line there. And we're going to cut all the way down to the bottom 1.5 inch score line. Just like that. Okay, and that's the end of our cutting. Okay, easy peasy when you get it right. So now we have our 2 slots on either side, just like that. So now comes the time for folding. The first thing we want to do is at this center line here, I'm going to push up on that center line from behind, and I'm just going to kind of pinch it together. I'm not creasing it, I'm just pinching it together. So I'm pushing up from behind, creating a mountain fold. Then I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push up from behind and I'm going to just pinch that one a little bit. I'm not doing a hard crease. So now you can see that on the top and bottom center crease we have mountain folds where they come up like that. Okay? And then I want to come over to the side here to the 3 inch crease line and the 9 inch crease line. And these ones we're going to push the crease back and we're going to pinch it from behind. So we're creating a valley fold. Okay, we're pushing that crease line back. So again, take your thumb or whatever and push it back and give it a little bit of a crease. So now if you look at it from the side, we've kind of created a W. We go down and then up and then down. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. So we're going to push this 3 inch crease line to the back and give it a bit of a pinch. And then we're going to take our 9 inch crease line and we're going to push it to the back and give it a bit of a pinch. And I'm just realizing I haven't checked to see if anybody's commenting. Hey, Sue! Good morning, Grace. I had somebody's message pop up, so I couldn't see your comments. All right, so now we've got our W's at the top and the bottom, where we've got a valley fold, mountain, valley, valley, mountain, valley. And now we need to deal with this center piece. So this center crease in the back here, it kind of is naturally pushing towards the back. And that's what we want to do. We're going to create a valley fold on this 6 inch crease in the middle. So we're going to push it back and pinch it from behind like that so that we create a valley fold. And then we want these ones on either side to become mountain folds. So we're going to push up from behind and we're going to pinch it on the front, just like that. And we'll go over to this one and we're going to push it from behind and pinch it on the front. Okay. Now the last creases we have are these 2 little ones right here, the 1.5 inch creases on either side. And these ones we want to create valley folds. So we're going to push it down from the front and we're going to pinch it on the back. And we'll push it down from the front and pinch it on the back. Now you can start to see the shape that's happening. So when we stand it up, we're going to have some really fun looking designs to our display, right? So now that we have them all like this, what we want to do is kind of just squish it. And you want to make sure that everything squishes nice and neatly, that everything kind of lines up top and bottom. Because you remember, we haven't made any hard creased edges. We just pinched it a little bit. So now that everything lines up and it all kind of moves in and out freely, we're going to go ahead and use our bone folder to give hard creases to all those creased edges. So just go ahead and take your bone folder, crease it all down. You can even flip it over to the other side and go over them again. You got a few layers of cardstock here now, so you can give it a little extra love. And so now when we open it up, look at that. We have all those fun angles and lines that are happening. And so this is the base of what we're going to do. And then the rest is just embellishment and decorating. And so if you think about having a mini album, you could even have 2 pages of an album here and attach this in here. And then when you turn the page to this album, you know, you have this fun pop-up. You could have this on the side of an album with a little latch or something, and then you could open it up and show all sorts of different things. Or you could use it as a card and just have fun and interesting sentiments and stamped images on here. So we're going to decorate this like a little mini album. Good morning, Michelle. Nice to see you're watching. And so I'm going to start by adding my front and back cover because we're going to treat this as an album. So if you take a look at what would be the front, you see that there's a weird notch that's happened. So we need to cover our front with a piece of something, either cardstock or pattern paper, that covers the whole front, but we need to make sure we don't glue right here because we want it to be able to move. So I'm going to use liquid glue for this, and I'm just going to apply glue to the part of the cover where I want it to attach and not in that notch. So just on the front, so you go around the notch, add my glue as you do, and then I can go ahead and add my paper. The nice thing about using the liquid glue is that you got some wiggle room, and probably the easiest is just to put your fingers on either side and squish it till it fits, right? So there we go. And this paper that I'm using on the front is a piece of the mix-in paper, and it looks like sort of a linen-y, beautiful textile, and it's in the shortbread color. And I thought that was kind of nice for sort of a beachy look. And I'm using photos that are all based around a pool. So I thought that sort of summery, beachy, pool-like feel would be great. And so when you open it up from the back side, you can see that that notch has been covered. And the back side is also a nice shortbread pattern, so it's not obtrusive or anything. So that's our front cover, and that was cut to 3 by 9 because the shape of each of the sections is 3 by 9 because of how we made all those 3-inch squares, right? So now let's go ahead and we'll add our back cover, and I'm using the exact same mix-in paper pattern to cover the back of my album because you might as well keep it the same. Now, if you were going to attach this into a mini album or onto a 12 by 12 page or something, then you could skip doing this back one because that's probably the part that would be attached to your page. This would be also a fun little album to put in the pocket of a traveler's journal or other kind of mini album that has this sort of tall and skinny shape. It's a nice little footprint, 3 by 9. And it's great because you can put in all of those, you know, Instagram photos and things that are all 1 by 1. You know, all those square photos that you have. Good morning, Ina. Good morning, Deborah. Oh, you're loving my nails. Thank you. Yes, those are my beachy nails. I kind of played a trick on Julia because she always complains that I do my nails so boring. So I went and I showed her and I said, do you like my nails? I did my nails. And she's like, really? That's it? That's all you did? And I'm like, well, how about this? Does that redeem it? You know, my nice little beach scene with my starfish. She's like, okay, fine. Okay, fine. Gotta love it when you get an okay, fine from your daughter, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and start adding some decoration. So the zip strip that came off of this pattern paper was actually this really pretty linen-y look. And I thought, sure, why not? Let's use that. We'll add it right on. We already cut it off of our paper, so we might as well stick it on our project. So I'm going to add this maybe, let me just line myself up here on the Versamat, about 2.5 inches up. Just lay that right across like so. And then, do you remember the other day when I was working on a project and I cut something apart and then I said, I'm going to save that little sandcastle to use as an embellishment? Well, here we are. So I went ahead and I fussy cut this out of the Picture My Life card. And I'm just going to use it here on the front of my album. And I don't usually add a lot of dimensional thing like foam tape and stuff like that on the front of a mini album, especially if I might use it in the pocket of another album, or, you know, if it's going to get a lot of wear and tear. It's nice to keep things low profile so they don't accidentally get bumped off. The other thing that I used was I brought in my beach party scrapbooking stamp and thin cuts. And for this next element, I actually just used the thin cut for this stamp, this nice big long oval sort of surfboard look. And what I did was I took one of the Picture My Life cards and I just cut out the shape. And so this one had sort of a brown and pink-ish check design on it, and I thought that's really pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach this here at the front of my card, and then I'm just going to trim off the sides. So this is how I do it when I'm going to attach it somewhere. I lay it upside down, and then I have an idea of where the edges are, so I know where to put my glue. I think that's a fun way of doing it, and more accurate than most. Because if I put it off to the side, I'm sure I would get glue everywhere. And then I'm just going to lay it down there like that. See if I can center it. And stick it down. And then, of course, I can flip it over and trim the edges. You always want to trim edges from the back side so that you are a little bit more accurate. If you trim from the front, you quite often trim through the thing that's behind. So there's that piece trimmed. And then we'll come to the other side. And we'll trim off this side. There we go. And like that. I thought that was just a little bit different kind of fun shape to add to the front. And then for my title, I took this one that says Keeping Cool by the Pool, because all the photos that I'm going to be using in this little album were taken by a little wading pool that's in our neighborhood. And I stamped it on the Bluebird cardstock and did white heat embossing. And I just love with these little splashy marks how it looks with the white heat embossing. Kind of jazzes it up for the cover of our little album. So then I can go ahead and glue that down. I'm going to keep my cover pretty simple for this. I'm not going to add any bling or anything, at least not yet. I haven't made that decision yet, but I'm just going to keep it pretty simple, and that way I have options about how I'm going to use it. So there we go. We've got Keeping Cool by the Pool. We've got our little sandcastle, although, you know, there's no sandcastle by the pool where we go, but there are a lot of toys that the kids play with, and there were some, you know, shovels and pails and things like that. Okay, and then let's also add a little bit to the back side. So I've got another little piece, 3 inches of that same zip strip from the Mix-In collection. And I can just go ahead, and I'm going to stick it on at the same height as the front. That's why I kind of made mention of the height that I was sticking it at. So let me line myself up, and I went up 2.5 inches and stuck it on there. Now I know that they're about the same. And then I went back to my Picture My Life cards, and I found one that was a journaling spot, and it had this cute little ice cream cart. And one of the things that we sometimes did when we were leaving the little wading pool is we went around the corner and went through the drive-thru at Wendy's for the 99-cent Frosties in the summertime and picked up a little treat to have on the way home. So there's our little ice cream cart to add to the background on our back cover. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I might see if I can find a photo of them actually in the truck eating Frosties. I haven't found it yet. But I could add that on the back here. Okay, so let's go now to the inside, to this nice page. And while you're decorating, you can kind of, you know, flatten it out a little bit so that it's a little bit easier to add things in. So one of the Picture My Life cards that I pulled out of the collection was this fun one that's just beach towels. Now, you might remember from the Beach Party collection that there is pattern paper that has sort of a beach scene with all the towels and the umbrellas and everything. But I thought, you know what, we're at a pool. Let's go with just the towels. So this one from the Picture My Life cards, I just cut it up and cut these into just under 3 inches. Let me see. Yeah, 2 7/8. So I can kind of pop them in the available space, and there'll be a little bit of the sapphire showing around there. So there's my 2 7/8. And I'm going to stick this one here. Kind of center it in its little square, like so. Nice. And then this one, I'm going to kind of go on the, going to kind of mirror it, but I'm going to go to the top side. And sometimes when you're filling in little angles and things like this, it's nice to have some cohesiveness from side to side, but not exactly matchy-matchy, if that makes sense. Same, but different. So we've got the same kind of pattern, but we've put it in a different space to kind of create some balance and some movement. And then I also had in my mind that I wanted to bring in some red. So I've got this lovely stripe from the paper collection, this little red and white stripe. And it's one of those patterns, because it's such a tiny stripe, if you have too much of it, it makes your eyeballs play tricks on you. But when you've got just a little piece like this, it's okay. So this one was cut to 1 3, let me see, 1 3/8 by 2 7/8. Took me a minute. And then I'm also going to bring it in on the other side over here. So again, 1 3/8 by 2 7/8. And you can kind of suit it to yourself. You know, if you want more of the blue showing, then just cut it a little smaller. So if you don't like doing 3/8, you can do 1 1/4. And have a little bit more of the blue showing. There we go. And then the mix-in papers. I wanted to bring in some of the mix-in papers. So you remember how when I was showing you the mix-in papers, there was the red floral. So I thought the red floral can go with the red stripe and kind of fill in these little spots. These spots are kind of a bit tiny for adding a photo, but it's a nice little accent spot where you can add some pattern. You could add some little words. You could add some journaling, some doodling, anything you want. I'm just going to keep it simple and put a couple pieces of patterns on here. So again, I'm mirroring it on the other side. Just like this. I like the plaid that's on the back of this too. It's like a mocha and toffee little stitched plaid. It's very pretty. Gonna have to use that. And we'll stick that down there like that. Ina's, you and your 1/8. Why are you doing this to me? I know, Ina, I know you love those 1/8. Just wait till I tell you to do like 3/16. That will be fun. All right, so now let's start putting some photos on. I've got some photos here. So I've got this one of Julia. She's eating watermelon, sitting. They have nice tables and chairs beside the pool that we go to. And this is just a wading pool, and it's free, and it's in our neighborhood. And you can go, you know, between certain times of the day. And there's a lifeguard there, and they drain the little pool every day, so it's always nice and fresh and clean. And I've cut all of my photos to 2 3/4. So there you go, Ina. I didn't make you cut photos to the 2 7/8. I went for 2 3/4. So she's sitting there eating watermelon, and then we've got a couple of her friends. So there's one of her friends munching on watermelon too. That was a very popular snack poolside because it didn't make them too thirsty, and it also kept them hydrated when they were playing in the sunshine. But I like they had this nice little area. You could sit at the tables, and they had nice chairs. There's also benches along the pool. And, so it was just a fun way to spend a couple hours. It's within walking distance, although, you know, we kind of drove. So here's a look at the pool. And it's a wading pool, so it starts shallow, and then it works its way to maybe like 1.5 1.75 feet at the far end. So, you know, they're up to their knees, but they could kind of paddle around in it. The older they get, the less easy it is to paddle. So there's an age limit on who can swim there. So unfortunately, I had to let my daughter in on the bad news that she's now too old to go to the little wading pool. Now she's got to go inside. This building right here is our rec center, and they have a nice big pool in there with a, you know, diving board and a deep end and all that fun stuff. And she passes the swim test every time to play in the deep end, so she likes that. And here's another one with them playing with the floaties. They have all these big floaties that the kids love to play on. And they keep it well stocked with toys and things, so nobody has to share too much. That's always important. Although a lot of the time we would be there, we would be the only people there. Like you can see, it's a fairly good-sized wading pool, and we were the only ones there. So that was nice too. Kind of had the whole place to yourself. And here's another one where they're all wrapped up in their towel and having a little snack. Eating watermelon by the pool. And just add that on there. So you can see that you can get a lot of photos in here. And if I didn't put, you know, decorative papers, you could even add a few more. I think I printed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think I have 11 photos that I'm going to be putting on here, because we're also going to put some photos on the back. But of course, if you don't add the pattern papers, you can get a lot of photos into this little amount of space. And with everybody taking Instagram photos and things with all these 1x1s, this is a fun way to print them out. You know, if you got grandkids or nephews and nieces or your own kids, you know, you can follow their Instagram and steal their photos and put them into albums for yourself. So there we go. There's another one. Good morning, Lisa. Nice to see you joining us. And then this last little spot, I thought I would go back into my Picture My Life cards, and I found this one that has sort of that shortbread background that we have for our cover, and it's also in the towels. But it says, "You're one in a melon," with the watermelon. So I thought I would go ahead and add that on here since they were munching on watermelons. I think these photos were actually from 2 different trips that week, but they had watermelon both times. And this one, again, I cut it to the 2 7/8. So it's a little bit larger than the photos. And there we go. So now we've kind of filled in our interior of, let me just pop that forward. There we go. Kind of got sunk in the back. And when you stand it up, it's got that fun profile. But then when we flip it over, we also have some spots on the back. And I'm just going to take a sip of water. What are you guys thinking about this fun little Fun Fold album? Can you see yourself making something like this? So on the back side, I actually did go to that pattern paper from the beach party, and I grabbed this one because I thought, you know, it's fine. We've got our sort of outside the pool things happening here. So I grabbed this one to add into this center bit, because in the center, this portion kind of sinks down in. And so I didn't really want to put a photo on here because I thought, you know, the photo would kind of disappear. Like when you pick it up and it's all folded like that, the photo would kind of disappear. Whereas the top and the bottom, you would see the photos a little better. So I thought I'll keep patterns in the center. That would also be a good place to add some journaling. Pardon me. I've got a tickle in my throat. And there's a little piece of hair stuck on my paper. There we go. Okay. Let's add this one in here. Stick it down. Oh, look at that. I actually matched the pattern going across too. done me. There we go. And then we can add a couple photos at the top and bottom. So we've got one of Julia's friend with her swim goggles. And I think in behind you can kind of see where the lifeguard sits at our little wading pool. They always have a little table with a big umbrella, and that's where the lifeguard sits because they're out there for several hours. They don't need to be sitting in the sun the whole time. And right up next to the pool, quite often the kids just chat with the lifeguard. There's a lot of chatting that happens. They usually have a radio out there, and they just play some random radio music. And, you know, it's a nice spot. And all the parents can sit in the shade and watch their kids splash around in the water. Or the more adventurous ones, you know, have their shorts on and go wading beside the kids when they're really little. Mine are old enough, I just let them go in, because whatever. But the parents can keep cool a little bit too, right? I was just looking at comments here on the side as I'm gluing. I missed a couple. Sue says, it's looking awesome. Yay! And yes, that would be a great idea, Deborah. You could do photos from your trip when you were over in England visiting with your mom. That would be fabulous. Yes, you can totally change the 7/8. Those 7/8 are just the decorative pieces, Ina, so you could totally cut them at 2 3/4. No problem, because my photos are 2 3/4. So the decorative papers and things could totally be 2 3/4. So yes, go ahead, make it 2 3/4 all the way. There we go. There's our last photo on. Yep, Deborah had the right idea. Just make them 2 3/4. Absolutely. So there is our back side. And when we fold it all up, you know, there's the presentation. If you wanted, you could have some sort of closure on this because it does have a bit of spring to it. But if you were tucking it in a pocket or sending it in an envelope, you know, it would get good and squished in the envelope. So it would not be a problem. You'd have to put it in a different size envelope, probably one of those 5.5 by 9 type envelopes. You could probably put 2 of them in there. And then when you open it up, look at that fun angled presentation. So of course, if it's on display, it's like a little art gallery, you know, kind of like one of those screens, you know, and you can get a lot of photos on there. So I've got 7 on this side, but I could have put 10. And if I really wanted to try, I could use one photo cut in half in each of these spots, which would be kind of interesting. But again, you can add the decorative elements, and then we've got our back cover and our photos on the back side, just like that. How fun is that? So I hope you guys enjoyed that, seeing the mix-in papers and the Picture My Life cards and the stamps and thin cuts, even using the thin cut to make an interesting shape in behind there. And even some of the pattern papers from the beach party. How fun! I hope you guys try it and enjoy it and create a fun fold mini album / card for your own. And if you do, take some photos and pop it in the comments so I can see it. All right, have a great day working on your challenges and playing the games. And we will see you at 1 o'clock for Chat and Craft. Toodaloo! Bye!